Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Greenfield-Alfonso, CEO of Results One LLC and a board member of the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of our partners, Howard University, WHUR, DC Women's Business Center, the Mayor's Office on Policy and Initiatives, the Washington Informer, and the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us as we celebrate Women's History Month. For those of you new to the Chamber, we are committed to promoting Black business growth in the District of Columbia by providing resources through advocacy, education, and the facilitation of networking opportunities. Women's History Month offers an important opportunity for us to shine a light on the extraordinary legacy of trailblazing women who have built, shaped, and improved our nation, and in this case, our city. Their history is our strength. So for that reason, we are honored to host our first Women in Business panel. Successful local leaders share insights for today and tomorrow. Our moderator for today is Debbie Jarvis, a close friend of mine, the Senior Vice President of Corporate Relations at Howard University. In her role, she has oversight of corporate relations and is charged with developing and implementing a global strategy for corporate development and the funding of those programs. She also oversees Howard's broadcast properties, WHUT-TV and WHUR Radio, ensuring their business operations are in alignment with the university's mission. Deb joined Howard University after serving 14 years at Pepco Holdings, Inc. as VP of Corporate Citizenship. And before joining Pepco, Debbie worked at NBC4 Washington, where she was a reporter and anchor for nearly a decade. Debbie is also a member of the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Debbie.
Well, thank you, Kim. I'm so happy to be here with everyone today. And I have to say that Kim is modest. She is a trailblazer herself and truly has the entrepreneurial spirit. A couple of years ago, she launched her own business with partner Sherry Freeman Watkins, and this dynamic duo make up Results One LLC. Sorry, Kim, I just had to give you your own little special shout out this morning. And as you said, we are honored to hold our first Women in Business panel. Successful local leaders share insights for today and tomorrow. But before we dive into the fabulous stories of these great women, the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce would like to again acknowledge our partners today: the Mayor's Office on Women's Policy and Initiatives, Department of Small and Local Business Development, the Mayor's Office of African American Affairs, the Washington, D.C. Women's Business Center, of course, Howard University, and WHUR 96.3, sounds like Washington. And I want to thank Sean Plater and the team for doing that. I also want to acknowledge the Washington Informer. We had a great fireside chat earlier this month with Ben's Chili owner, Virginia Ali. So congratulations. Women's History Month is almost over, but the history that we as women make continues. So their strength is our history. We have four pretty phenomenal women that bring truth to that statement. Let me tell you who they are, and they're coming on the screen. Okay, first on the screen, I see Linda Rabbit. She's the founder and chairman of Rand Construction Corporation. How about Denise Lloyd Withrow, president and CEO of D.H. Lloyd and Associates? Carolyn Rudd, president and CEO, CRP Inc., and Cora Williams, president and CEO of Ideal Electrical Supply Corp. So rather than read the fabulously impressive and extensive bios of each, Kim and I thought it best to just let you all introduce yourselves. So we're going to ask you to take 2 to 3 minutes each for a self-introduction and why you started your business. Okay. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and start out with Linda Rabbit. You're on the screen. Linda, who is Linda Rabbit and what motivated you to start your business?
Well, first of all, thank you, Debbie, very much for having me here today. And I'm really honored to be in this group. I really appreciate being asked to share my thoughts with you today. My story is really one of a very well-credentialed school teacher who became a battered wife, who had to start life all over again at 32, was a secretary and then head of a marketing division of KPMG, and then founded a construction company 35 years ago. So I've had a journey of seeing life from all different aspects. And what I am most grateful for is that this community was so welcoming to me when I really needed friends and supporters. And I want us never to forget how welcoming this community really can be. I joined the Board of Trade and became chair. I joined the Federal City Council and became chair. People say when they read my resume, I look like a has-been, but I am actively involved in the community, and I love our community.
You are not a has-been, you are a have-been, because you have been at every table, every seat, from the top to the middle to creating things. So Linda, thanks. We're happy to have you here this morning. All right, Denise, Lloyd, who are you and what motivated you to start your business?
Well, my name's Denise Lloyd Withrow, and I'm the president and CEO of D.H. Lloyd and Associates, which is a commercial insurance firm specializing in construction. We have been in business 36 years. And I'm like Linda, I've been around, and the reason I started my firm is my son came home. I was newly divorced, and he said, "Mom, I just got accepted at Good Counsel." And he said, "Can I go?" And I looked at my weekly paycheck and I said, So the first year I took a loan out to do it. And the second, by the time I paid it off, it was time to start another one. So I decided this isn't working. So let me go out on my own. It was a choice of either being promoted to another position. But I really thought that as Linda had said, this is such a welcoming community, and that I was not working with the Chamber of Commerce. I thought I could possibly, really have a good start. And so I started my own firm.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, who is Cora Williams and what motivated you to start your business, Cora?
Good morning, everybody. I am Cora Williams, and I founded Ideal Electrical Supply. I didn't need much motivation, to tell the truth, because I come from a long line of mom and pop and family businesses, and it's in my blood. I was an employee in the federal government for many years, a manager at HUD, and for me, it was just a matter of when, not if, I would leave the government and start a business. I found out about this opportunity, took advantage of it, and just grew it. So here I am.
And you have. You've grown it well. And I know there are a lot of accolades that go along with that growth. And as we continue to have our conversation this morning, I want you to think about stories that you can share with everyone. And we've heard some great stories already from Linda and Denise. And now it's time to turn our efforts to Carolyn Rudd. Who are you, Carolyn? And what motivated you to start your business?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carolyn Rudd, President and CEO of CRP Incorporated. First of all, Kim, thank you so very much for including me on this impressive panel. I was very pleased to have been invited. So how did I start my business? Debbie, you're going to be shocked. I was about to sue Howard University. Before I started CRP, I had worked at 3 institutions of higher ed: Virginia State University, which is my alma mater, Bowie State University, and then finally Howard University. And progressively, I had risen in the areas of leadership and management. I've been writing proposals and doing fund development. I had written the proposal that funded the first national teleconference for an HIV/AIDS teleconference that was funded by CDC. Jim Vance was going to be my moderator for that panel, bless his heart. Well, something happened in the middle, and the lady who was in charge of the office, who was the director, was fired, and I became the director of the office. Some kind of way, she pulled some strings and she got back into the office, and just before my big national teleconference, I was fired from Howard University. So Denise, I called a good friend of ours who's a prominent attorney in Washington, D.C., Mose Lewis, bless his heart. Mose had been the attorney who had won every case against Howard University. I went to him, he and my former husband used to play tennis together, and I said, Mose, I want you to sue Howard University. He said, why do you want me to sue Howard University? Why did you come to me? I said, because you have won every case that you've ever had against Howard. He said, but your case is not winnable. So he said, what do you want to do? I've always wanted to start my business. So he said, we're going to do that. So at 4201 Connecticut Avenue, back in 1988, I started CRP Incorporated. But then I also felt that it was an opportunity for me to hire African-American and particularly women. So that was the story in terms of how I got started with CRP back in 1988.
Well, congratulations to you back in 1998 for starting your own business. And actually, you can thank Howard University because closing one door helped to open another door, right? There's always a silver lining in a door closing. I think we've all experienced that in our own ways. And that's what's brought us here today. I have a question that I think, whomever wants to can chime in first on this one. But I really think we've all experienced this. A strong woman looks a challenge in the eye and gives it a wink. What one big challenge and how did you overcome that challenge have you experienced? Who wants to take that one on first with a wink?
Oh, I'll take it.
Go ahead, Cora. Well, I don't look like what I do. So I own a construction company and, I have perfectly manicured nails. So I don't look like I swing a hammer or know how to drive a truck. And credibility for all women is always the number one challenge. And so mine was that I didn't have a degree in engineering, or I had no credibility in either through my education or through my experience. I went from being a marketing person to the owner of a construction company in 1985. And that took a lot of courage.
It did. And I know you're winking at everybody now. See what I was able to do? You didn't think I could do it, but I did it. So I love that. Who else wants to take on that wink kind of motivation?
Cora.
Okay, I would say that ditto to what Linda said about construction. I'm in the construction industry too, with the perfectly manicured nails and everything else. We do not look like what we do. But the main thing, the biggest problem I had from the beginning, because I had started doing it part-time and really built up a clientele before I left my job and did it full-time. But after I started to do it full-time, certainly the expenses grew right away. And then you found out that no banks would lend you any money because you didn't have trade references. Even though you had perfect credit, you had 820 score on your personal score, you never missed any payments on mortgages or anything like that. But if you didn't have any trade references, they wouldn't give you 15 cents worth of credit. And it was a tough road to hoe. But we were able to persevere by making sure that we stayed up all night trying to collect on receivables and trying to pay bills as quickly as we could. But it's a difficult industry because nobody in the construction industry pays in 30 days. So it's still difficult.
And those are the kind of difficulties that continue, but you move forward, you keep going. And so this kind of lets me, kind of open the door to our most recent change in the way that we had to do business. What are we doing? We're not in a big room somewhere. We're on a screen. And we're all in our homes or offices right now conducting this conversation. So what was and what has been the impact of COVID-19 on your business? How did you pivot? How did you make changes? How are you making it work in this current environment? Denise, let me toss that question your way.
Well, I remember in March, the first week of March, two of my employees came in coughing and sneezing and everything. And we had an appointment at lunch to meet with one of our clients across the street at McCormick and Smith. And I told them, with this COVID going around, I know it's not supposed to be here yet, but I'm going to let you all stay and I'll go and take the meeting. And the next day, another person came in ill. And I said, okay, guys, we're going to work from home. We already had that in place because of inclement weather, because most of my staff are females and they don't want to be dealing with weather and snow especially. So we already had that in place. So we have been working from home since then. And quite frankly, it's worked out pretty well. The only problem that I find is when we have a new customer and we want to go, I usually like to go and see them and do really eye-to-eye contact. And sometimes I get Zoom exhausted. But other than that, I think we've really kind of adapted to the situation. And my concern is, can I get them back in the office? They're very happy where they are.
Yeah. Hey, Carolyn, so tell me, how have you pivoted because of COVID-19? What have you done and how's it going?
Well, Debbie, things are going extremely well. We were very, very pleased and blessed, I say, that our major federal clients continue to have us work. And just as Denise, we shut our office down on March the 13th, and we're all working remotely. My company, which is a primary management consulting firm that provides professional services in the areas of research, data analysis, logistics, primarily. We have grown from a core staff of 25 to 125 during this COVID period. We pivot. We got an interesting call from a major prime contractor in the DC area who was looking for a CBE. And CRP was one of the CBEs that they interviewed, and we were able to become their partner, staffing call centers in the district. We started out with providing them with 25 staff members as customer service representatives to up to 100 plus today. So we have been able to pivot and grow during this COVID period. And we have extended opportunities to many, many DC residents. I believe in first source hiring. So we are helping to put our DC residents back to work as a result of being blessed with this customer service representative contract. So we have grown tremendously.
Hey, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Cora, Linda, how's it impacted, the construction end of business?
We were determined early on to be essential from our utility customers. So we had to pivot right away. As you can imagine, our business is not conducive to working from home. So we had to come up with a plan. I have some very strong managers whom we worked with very closely, and the staffs. And so we have a skeletal crew in that comes in. They actually have dates that they come in. Everybody doesn't come to work at the same time or the same day, but we've been able to figure it out. That's our motto. When something comes that we've never dealt with before, which is almost weekly, we say figure it out. But we had to continue working because we have to continue to ship and receive all day long. That's what we do. So we have one manager there all the time with a skeletal crew, and that's a big pivot for us.
Okay. Hey, Linda, I know you got a story or two around how COVID has changed the way you guys do business at RAND.
So construction was considered an essential business, and our construction sites were open. we felt in the office that we couldn't put people out in the field in harm's way and not have people come to the office. So we spent hours and hours and much time figuring out rotational situations so that we would do all the social distancing. We would do everything that we were doing on a job site, we would do in the office. We have 5 offices around the country, and each jurisdiction had different rules. So you can imagine trying to, every day, like Cora said, there was a new something coming at us. But because we're entrepreneurial, we figured it out. And our senior leadership met every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 to 6 for 6 months to work through all these issues.
That's great. Yeah. I think that we've all gotten kind of used to being in this platform that we're in right now, having conversations, getting to know people. I mean, there are people that I'm dealing with on a daily basis that I might have been on the phone with them before this COVID, and now I'm seeing them, via Zoom or, this format, StreamYard that we're on. How's Zoom been working out for you guys, or just being on this kind of format? Is that, is it working for you? Or when we go back to where we can all be out and about and maybe closer to a normal situation, are you going to create a hybrid approach, or what are you thinking?
Well, personally, I'm thinking about a hybrid approach. However, I'm with Linda. I'm zoomed out. There are days when I want to go back to my office because people just assume because you don't have to travel. I never thought that I'd say I'd like to travel the short distance from my house to Connecticut Avenue, but I'm ready to get in that car and drive because people just assume because you're at home, you can jump on a call at 8 o'clock in the morning and then one at 8 o'clock at night. One day last week, I had 9 Zoom calls. But there are times like yesterday when it was raining so that I didn't have to get in a car and drive to the DC Chamber of Commerce office. So I like that part of it. So I think that for me, I'm going to do a combination, a hybrid. There are times when we need to be in the office, but I also think for staff, when we have our weekly all hands on deck staff meeting, I realize that personal touch, that socialization that you have, the camaraderie, that's missing. And I think that we will go back to the office. I do have a reopening committee within my company, and we've looked at all kinds of strategies in terms of a hybrid, maybe working 4 days a week or doing split shifts, that kind of thing. But I do think that there is a need for the socialization touch. So a hybrid is probably going to be what we do for a while.
Who else wants to chime in? Who's got a plan? I like that a reopening committee concept.
Well, we're going to do a hybrid also. We're going to have people in twice a week. There's going to be an argument on who does that, but we're going to do that everybody twice a week, and so they can work from home for 3 days. Oftentimes, when we have meetings with the carriers and the client, it's really important for us to be hands-on and touch someone. And quite frankly, I can't wait to be able to do that as an alternative than staying on the Zoom situation all the time. But as Carolyn had said, when the weather's inclement, I don't have an issue staying home and Zooming. But dealing with the DC traffic, I love DC, but the traffic is horrendous. Even though I live 18 miles away, it takes me an hour and a half to get to work sometimes. So I don't have an issue with staying home at least 2 or 3 days a week.
Debbie, with regard to Zoom, when we all know each other, Zoom is easy because we know each other. But when we don't know each other, for example, when we have to give pitches for new business, and we're trying to explain our credentials and so forth. You can't read the room as easily. You can't see what's actually going on in the room as easily. And that's really a challenge because, you know, our business is so relationship driven that it's hard to get a sense of the room when you don't know the people.
I agree. I think Kim was saying something, but needs to be unmuted. Are you there with us now, Kim? Maybe Jeff can help unmute you because I know it's something important.
Yes,
There we go.
As a new business,
That's what happens every day on a Zoom meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
and somebody does not hit their mute button. But I was going to say, as a new business, tagging on to what Linda said, that is so critical because I firmly believe that business is relationships. You know, and when you're a new business out there, you don't have that ability, even though Zoom is certainly an option. You know, I know that for me and for our business to really grow, we need to get back to that shaking the hands, looking eye to eye, and developing those relationships. So I so wholeheartedly agree with that comment, Linda.
Yeah.
And reading the body language, which you can't do on Zoom.
No, that's so true. Well, listen, the title, my title is Senior Vice President Corporate Relations, and you're so right to build those relationships, being in front of. And so I can't wait until we can have not only our students back on campus, but we can bring those corporations back on campus too. So the students and the corporate leaders can see each other, you know, real face to face and really begin to create those great relationships. So I want to move on here. I want to ask you guys a question. I'm just going to throw this out here. It's a quote. And I want to see if you guys can guess who might have said this. I've always believed that one woman's success can only help another woman's success.
Maya Angelou.
She may have said it. I'm not saying that she didn't.
Gloria
I bet you
Vanderbilt.
she did say it. But the whole point is that I think a lot of women have said that or something similar to that. But that exact quote came from Gloria Vanderbilt.
Yes.
So the real question in all of this is, and you kind of touched on it already, have other women helped you along this path? And if so, how?
Well, Debbie, there was a young lady named Cheryl Massett, I think, that worked at Howard University. And Howard University was giving out awards to startup female-owned businesses. And I have met her, and she chose me to be one of the recipients of that award. This was back in 1986. And I was able to meet a lot of people who actually became my clients. One of them is still my client, or two of them, that I met in that situation. And so she, as far as I'm concerned, that was the first award I got as a company, as a firm. And also, she just really led the way for me. And I appreciate her to this day. She was very helpful. You know, that allowed me, because I'm not from DC, to meet a number of people. And like Industrial Bank, I met them, and they've been my client ever since.
So Debbie, in my career as a school teacher, all the administrative people were men. So, but when I started back to work at 32 as a secretary, I was promoted to executive secretary, and I worked for the famous Steve Harlan, who was very well known in the industry. 3 months later, he promoted me to director of marketing, a subject I knew absolutely nothing about. And he did so because the woman who was doing it, Esther Smith, was going on to be the first editor of the Washington Business Journal. She founded the Washington Business Journal. And she said to him, Mr. Harlan, you'll keep her as an executive assistant for a year, but you'll keep her for 5 years if you promote her. And he went home and talked to his daughter, Anne, and Anne said, "You're darn right, Dad, you better do that." And she and I have been friends ever since. There has never been anyone in my life who has helped me that I have not kept in my life. So there were so few women in that era who were role models.
I can attest to that as well in construction, because even though I'm in construction and construction is a huge industry, I'm in a small subset of that. It's very closed. It's very, very male. And there are no women and no blacks. There may be 1/10 of 100%. And those who are there, you don't even know where they are because they may be way across the country. So I didn't have any role models who were women. Didn't have a choice. I had to figure it out. As we say at Ideal, figure it out. But and they wouldn't help you. Nobody would give you any advice because you're not supposed to be there. You don't belong. They don't want any women in this industry.
Well, Debbie, I want to just share that my rise to success has been with lots of women. We talk about relationship building, and I think that's a critical part to business success. And women that I have met through my sorority, through organizations that I belong to, when I was working, before I started the company, I grew those relationships, and they were essential as I looked for contracts. Many of them were in the federal government because this is where we started out doing work in the federal marketplace. And many of them were program directors or in the contracting office. And because I had a good relationship with them, they gave me an opportunity to do well. But I think once you get your foot in the door, you have to do the work to get the work. And so, yes, women have always helped me, and I appreciate them. Denise Lloyd knows one lady who helped me a lot at one time before I could even afford to have office space. Joanne Williams at 1300 L Street, I rented from her. And Joanne gave me lots of great tips in terms of what to do and what not to do. And so, yes, I've had women all of my life to help support CRP and where we are today, and I am very grateful for them. Many of them have now retired from the federal government, but they were great supporters of CRP, and I thank them.
So Debbie, actually, someone named Charlene Drew Jarvis was a role model for me. Because
for me too, along the way.
She was a senior woman at the table, and because I got that promotion, I got to meet a lot of people. I got to sit in a lot of rooms and meet a lot of important people, and she was generally one of the only women, and I admired her demeanor, her graciousness, and how she could really say something strongly but not offensively.
And she always supported me as well.
Me also.
And she supported me right now.
You know what? And I'm going to just chime in. She is a wonderful mother-in-law. She is a fabulous grandmother. I always welcome the opportunity when she said, "Hey, send the boys over." We're like, "Yes, please take them," because they always came back smarter. And I know she has been just a tremendous help to so many in this community. So to my mother-in-law, I give many thanks to her. Hey, Kim, I know that you're still with us, and I hope you're off mute. Any thoughts on the women who helped you along the way?
Well, I would tell you one of the reasons I'm even here is Miss Carolyn Rudd. For years, as she knows, I would talk about starting a business, and she really gave me that strength and words of wisdom. I would come to her house and sit down and talk to her, and she still checks in with me to see how I'm doing. And the first 2 bits of business I got were from women. We're all looking for that past performance, when you first start out. And so I would say right now they have been extremely helpful. So thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Yay. I love that. I love that. I'm going to add one more woman's name to this mix. You know, I was in TV, I was a news anchor and reporter, and I was looking to make a move to the other side. When you're in news, PR is called the dark side. When you're in PR, they call news the dark side. So anyway, I wanted to move to the PR dark side. And the one woman who helped me move from Channel 4 was Beverly Perry.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When she found out that I was looking, she called me up, set up the conversation, and the rest is history. And so I learned from her at Pepco. I know she was my advocate internally, and she's still an advocate through the changes that I've made, and now being at Howard University. I've learned so much from her. And so I know that we give thanks to all of the women who have been in our lives and instrumental in getting us to perhaps where we are today. And so now I ask you all, how are you helping other women entrepreneurs?
Well, I have a group of ladies from Connecticut to Atlanta who have started their own agency, and I am on their advisory board, and I try to help them get contracts with standard carriers. I give them advice on coverage when they're bidding on information. I offer to assist them on that process because, you know, when no one was there to help me when I started, unfortunately, but I try to reach out to them. And I do it for free. I don't ask them to get part of the business. I just try to assist them with the caveat that they have to help another sister along in our industry, because there are very few African-American commercial insurance agents. So I try to help them do that. And I think I have three, not four, three who have continued and been very successful. And I love that, because that will be my legacy, I believe.
I believe I'm helping right here at home because we always have an office full of women. And because we're still a small business, each woman has a primary responsibility, but everybody winds up doing a lot of things. And in doing so, we're training and teaching them to be entrepreneurial. So some people have left Ideal and started a firm because they knew how to do and what to look for and the pitfalls. And so I believe that training women in the construction industry is very key, and that's what we're doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, I have done similarly the same things in my company. I am proud to say that the majority of the employees in CRP are indeed women, and some of them have gotten the bug and gone on and started their own company. Also, what I try to do is to surround myself with some of the younger entrepreneurs. They are the ones who need support and need help. So as I get contracts, I try to find an opportunity or a way to include them and make sure that they get a small piece of the pie, at least some of the pie. As I always say, some money is better than no money. So I encourage them to continue to work with us and partner with us. Most of you know that in January, I became the chair of the DC Chamber of Commerce. And since that time, we have started a Women in Business Committee where we are focusing primarily on women entrepreneurs. And that's an intergenerational approach. They can be millennials, older women who have decided they want to pivot. So we're now working on that committee. And I ask anyone who's interested to go on the Chamber website and find more information about that. And we'll be working also with the Black Chamber of Commerce as we develop that committee, Kim.
Great. So in my world, my husband, I remarried, and my husband said to me, you know, Linda, if the boys don't help you and the girls don't help you, you've got nowhere to go. So 25 years ago, I started a group of women who were the senior women in my industry, from architects to attorneys to all, subcontractors, whatever, developers, women developers. We've been a group for 25 years. We have helped and mentored other women. You can see a picture of that group behind me, I think over here, of women.
I see it.
And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that we have taught each other how important it is to help each other and to mentor the next group coming up. The other thing that I'm very proud of is that women entrepreneurs are often very hard to find and therefore don't get considered for corporate boards, which is an experience that has been blocked to women until recently, very often. So at first at George Washington University, where I was a trustee, and now at Harvard University, I founded a program called Women on Boards. And we look for entrepreneurial women to put through the course to teach them the roles and responsibilities of public company board leadership.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Anyone else want to chime in on, how you help other women entrepreneurs?
It's hard to find them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, do you believe that anyone can be an entrepreneur? And what personality characteristic traits do you think seem to kind of be consistent and maybe one that someone might have to be a successful entrepreneur?
I think that to be a successful entrepreneur, I've had an employee who's become a successful entrepreneur. Unfortunately, not in my area, but she's successful anyway. And I found that what she brings to the table, quite frankly, was the fact that she would understand what is needed without me telling her. Number one, she was not a 9-to-5 person. I recall one day walking through the office and I saw, and this will tell you how dated it is. I saw a letter in a typewriter, right? And the person left it in the middle of the sentence because it was 5 o'clock. That is not an entrepreneur, okay? Because if you think that being an entrepreneur, I remember somebody saying they wanted to be an entrepreneur because they only wanted to work from 1 to 5. I said, sweetheart, that is not what you want to do, because there is no time schedule here. I was talking to someone yesterday saying, I actually got a text at 1:30 a.m. in the morning last night, and I had to respond. Oh, I didn't have to, but I did because I happened to be up. But I'm just saying, being an entrepreneur is not a 9-to-5 job. It's more like a 9-to-9 job. And secondly, Saturdays, Sundays, whatever your client needs, you need to be there. I had left the wedding of a relative because one of my clients had a loss. And my husband said, why are you leaving? The insurance company can handle it. I said, because I'm the broker. And when you have that's what I sell is intangible. So the only time it's important is when there's a claim. And I had to be there to just let them know you got the coverage. Here's what's going to happen. And just to shake their hand or hold their hand and let them know it's okay. To me, that's important for you to, anybody can sell a product, but I think it's really important that they know that you're there 24/7 for them. So, I really think if the person has that kind of tenacity and dedicated commitment, that they might be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
So Debbie,
I totally agree, Denise. Do I think anyone can be an entrepreneur? If you have the desire, if you have the real desire, the perseverance, and the wherewithal to understand, as Denise said, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 24/7. And you have to be able to have a high degree of integrity, honesty. You may not know everything. You're not going to know everything, but be able to surround yourself with some good people that you can depend on. So you have to build that village to inform you and help you as you grow through the various stages, the life cycle stages of your business. So yes, anyone could be an entrepreneur, but I said it must be a burning desire, and you clearly understand that it takes a lot.
Linda?
So I would say that everyone can't be an entrepreneur and don't want to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone wants to sacrifice the way you have to sacrifice as an entrepreneur. It takes a tremendous amount of energy, and it takes a tremendous amount of self-confidence to believe in yourself against all odds. And chauvinism is what happens when people undermine your self-confidence. So in my case, because I was well educated and, came from a really successful family, to be out on the street with a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, having been a battered wife, I had something to prove. I was going to prove that I was a person of value and that I had made a big mistake, but that I could recover from it. And so in my case, it was my energy, my natural energy was fueled by a desire to show my parents that I had made a bad mistake, but that I could really make something of myself because they had poured their heart into me. I was well educated, I was brought up right with great manners and so forth. And I have looked around, particularly in the construction industry, and I see a lot of me, but they happen to be men. They want to prove to their father, they want to prove to somebody. In the case of Cora, you said you were groomed to be this, or it was not a question of if, it was when. That is such a gift that you got, that the rest of us had to learn. And what I had to learn was self-confidence, because what happens when you're a battered wife is that's the thing that you lose. And you can't be successful until you believe in yourself first.
I think you have to have a strong constitution, because you're going to hear a lot more no's than yeses. I mean, all the time it's going to be no, no, no. And if you can't take that, if you can't handle that, if you don't have the aptitude and the attitude to handle that, you won't last, regardless of how good your skills are.
And Cora, as a new entrepreneur, that's what I'm learning. I think the hardest thing has been the no's. The no's have been really difficult. And as a new entrepreneur, you're more likely to hear those no's, but you just got to get back up again.
They come fast and
And I
furious.
agree that the energy, the work ethic, I always worked hard. I was never 9 to 5, but this is more than 9 to 5.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what I'm learning, is that sometimes it's hard to stop, especially when you're building a business. So I'm not sure everyone can be an entrepreneur. I didn't know I could. Now I know I can, but it's a lot.
Yeah. So my husband is an entrepreneur, and that's kind of like one of my internal goals. One day, I know that I will be an entrepreneur, because I approach the work that I do now from an entrepreneurial spirit, if you will. Kim and I were texting each other last night at 12:30, making sure that we had everything together for this, because we wanted to make sure that this product was a good product today. And you can't, 5 o'clock hits, we're done. And then whatever happens tomorrow happens. You cannot approach life like that.
The other thing I would say to that is that also, with this world being so digital nowadays, the young people think that all you need to do is sit behind a computer and get everything done. And that is just so not the case. I mean, you have to use a computer for a lot of things, but you have to do so many things away from, regardless of what the industry is. And and of course, everybody wants to just do CAD drawings and whatever else you can do with the computer and think your job is done. And even for an architect, I have friends who are architects, and they think all they have to do is sit behind the computer, and they can't understand why their business is not working the way that they think it should be, because they're good at what they do, but they don't understand that you have to get down in the weeds on a lot of things that you don't want to have to deal with.
So I was asked once what my definition of an entrepreneur was. And I said, the highs are high, the lows are low, and there's nothing in the middle.
Good way to put it.
Well, on my letterhead, I have clients are our only asset. And the reason I have that is when I went to the bank, like Cora and everybody was saying, I went to get a loan, and when I want to start my firm, and they said, well, do you have any artwork, or how much money you have in the bank? And even though I had a good credit score, my answer for the other two were no, nothing. And so then they said, oh, who are your clients? And at that time, I was insuring Tyson Food and Kraft General Food and Oscar Mayer. And they said, oh, well, your clients are your assets. So I have put that was 36 years ago, but on my letterhead, it says, or in my email, it says, clients are our only asset. And it's true, because if you don't have clients, you have nothing, and that's so very important. And I've been blessed to have Kim's husband as a client for over 34 years. So I'm just, thankful to him, and he's been a wonderful client. I think I'm part of his company, but I'm not. But she knows I'm there day and night, so I'm just saying that it's very important for us women to stick together, for us women to talk to each other. Cora's been in my life for 30 years, 32, 33 years. She's actually the godmother of my daughter, as Kim and Pedro are the godparents of the same daughter. I needed a lot of parents in this one because I adopted her very old. I was very old when she wasn't. She was 23. I was old, but I was old. And so, but I just think that we women need each other. We need to talk to each other. We need to be around each other, to support each other, and, and let people know just how important it is. And that's what I miss out of COVID. I miss going to dinner and just eyeballing someone and just having that conversation.
Seeing them and being able to, hey, I haven't seen you in so long, and
And a
giving
hug,
somebody a
hug,
hug, and
A hug, yes.
yeah, just those little things. Those little things mean an awful lot. So, ladies, we have about 10 minutes or a little bit less, and so I want to get just some kind of like pearls of wisdom from you. So your value will be not what you know, it will be what you share. So please share a pearl of wisdom with entrepreneurs who hope to leave a legacy and, have a long history like you all have had. So Linda, can I start with you?
So, I've never had a business course, and I didn't ever have a marketing course, and all the skills that I needed, I didn't. I'd never been educated in those. So I used to go to motivational speakers, and there was a motivational speaker named Zig Ziglar, and he said, if you're in a service business, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I have lived with that for a very long time, because our clients, our employees, they have to know that you care first. And I can tell by the way all of you are talking that you get that. And that's why you're so successful.
That's a great one. Carolyn?
Well, one of my pearls is, I'm going to share a couple of them. I always say to my staff that all money is not good money. And when I first said that, they weren't quite sure what that meant. But as time has gone on, they understand that. But I think one of the important things that a successful business person can do, and one of the true pearls of my success, has been take care of your employees. Yes, your clients are your assets, but if you don't take care of your employees so that you can give the valuable service and quality service to your clients, then it's all for naught. So I think showing that respect to your employees, paying them a decent and livable wage, those are important things to success in terms of a business.
Very well said. Very well said. Cora?
I think I would just say that I've lived with this all of my life as well. It came from my father. 8th grade education, but he used to always say, you can't reason with unreasonable people. And I live by that. And by saying that, I'm saying that sometimes you have to fire customers for clients because, as Carolyn was saying, all money is not good money. Some will try to take advantage of you, especially if you're small. They'll have you doing a lot of things that you'll never get paid for. So you have to realize that you just can't take everything because you're trying to grow your business, and you have to be you have to think very closely about which ones you want to deal with when you have opportunities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. Denise?
I think that this might sound corny, but I think you need to treat your employees like they're your family, because they are, and they're the face that your client sees. And also make those hard decisions when that family member may not be projecting what you need to project to other people. And also we need to be very careful and comfortable with giving our advice and a plan of action for the future. I believe that my employees are my partners in the business. And that's how I treat it. And I would never get a raise unless they got one. I'm the last one to get one. And they have been very, very supportive of us. As I don't think there's a business person on this table that hasn't gone either, on this panel, I should say, that hasn't gone through some ups and downs and critical periods. And, and my employees have been understanding and has been there. I've looked down at emails at 11 o'clock at night, and they're still sending stuff to their clients. That's the type of people that I embrace and reward. And I think that it might be very kind of difficult to find, and of course, my office is 99.9% women. I don't know. I don't recall really doing that purposely. It just worked out that way. So, but I think women are more into detail, and my industry is very detail oriented. So I think that if you treat even if it's a job, if you treat it like a career and not a job, then you'll be successful, whether you're entrepreneurial and go that route or stay in the firm and become a high executive like Linda did, and her skills were recognized by her boss, and she was put into a key position. And I think that's important.
Truly is. So Kim, I've got to call on you as well, because you're there. You helped to get this off and running today. And so your pearl of wisdom.
I would say for the new entrepreneurs that are out there, believe in what you do, work hard, and network as much as you can, because I think relationships is what drives a business.
Absolutely.
So Debbie, can I add one more thing?
You absolutely can.
So I say to the young women I mentor, don't ever let anyone define for you who you are. It's your job, it's your responsibility to define yourself and to stick to that. Don't let anyone tell you what you can do and what you can't do and who you can be and who you can't be. Find the people who support you.
May I add one more, Debbie?
Absolutely. How can I tell you no, Carolyn?
Treat the janitor as if she were the CEO. You never know who's going to bring you your next contract.
That is true.
It's true. That is so true. Anyone else? You got one more shot at another pearl of wisdom?
Just one. If you join an organization like the Black Chamber of Commerce or the Chamber of Commerce, sending in your dues is not joining. You have to participate to get the fruit. I would not be here today if it wasn't for the Chamber of Commerce, and the DC Chamber, and I just wanted to say, I just want to throw that out, okay? Because people think because they send $1 in that they're supposed to get all this business, and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And I would like to also add that, again, for new and even older businesses that the DC Women's Business Center is also something that you really need to take advantage of. There's a lot.
I was just getting ready to go there. Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact,
keep going. You're doing a great job. And if we have one of those slides up that we can just show about the DC Women's Business Center, you're spot on.
As a matter of fact, I'm having a meeting with them this afternoon.
Yes, and they have just started, and I'm pleased that I am now on the advisory board of the DC Women's Business Center. So hopefully we'll be helping them in that regard as well. But I would strongly recommend, if you've not done so, to reach out to the DC Women's Business Center. Heidi Shepard is phenomenal. Had an opportunity to have several conversations. And as you mentioned, Carolyn, we should all take advantage not only of the DC Women's Business Center, the Greater Washington Black Chamber, as well as the DC Chamber. And I'm members of all. So.
And I just want to say also, as we close out, that I'm a child of a Baptist minister, so I'm a woman of faith. And my dad always taught me, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So one of my favorite mantras is, to whom much is given, much is expected. So I think all of us as successful business women, we reach back, pull along, reach down and pull up and help another small business or another business. This is a very critical time in our city as we're fighting the pandemic. We're trying to reopen our city and we're trying to get businesses back on track. So we all have to do our part to help the city come back and be the great city that has always been.
And on that note, I'm going to say, amen, Carolyn, Cora, Denise, Linda, you know I love you dearly. Kim, everyone in our audience, thank you so much for being with us here today and supporting women-owned businesses with your experience, your expertise, and your wisdom. And to our audience, please become a member of the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. We talked about that. Don't just, join, pay your dues, participate. And I'm glad that you were able to participate with us here today. It's been a wonderful.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day and be blessed and go out there and kick some butt.
Be blessed.